Chakrative. The purpose of life is ecstasy, joy, freedom, nirvana, bliss. It is the experience of those high states that are the reason for creation. Why do people like beauty? It is not a thing in and of itself. When you truly see something beautiful, it moves you to a deep place inside. It is that experience of God, reveling in God, of the joy of experiencing an experience fully, totally. That is why creation exists. It is not to be viewed that the world is wrong, it's bad, it's evil, and your test is to see if you can get away from it. It's actually very much the opposite. Creation was created so that the Divine One can know Himself, can experience herself. When you do experience fully, it brings about a state of joy, a state of bliss. The problem is that very few people have ever experienced this. Maslow called it a peak experience, and of course that was the lower end of it. It goes up from there. Why do so few people experience what the purpose of creation is? Why do we not constantly and perpetually experience what the purpose of it all is, which is the joy, the ecstasy, the love, the bliss of the experience of life? If you study this and watch it carefully, as a yogi, you understand joy, bliss, love, ecstasy are all a flow of energy. And the reason one doesn't feel it is because the energy is not flowing right. In fact, if the energy gets disturbed enough in its flow, then instead of feeling joy and bliss and ecstasy, we feel tension and anguish and fear and insecurity and a total lack of well-being. The only difference between ecstasy and agony is the flow of the energy. There's no other difference. Nothing. There can be tremendous agony and there can be tremendous ecstasy. There can be a neutral state, not a whole lot of suffering or problems, and there can be a relatively neutral state, I'm doing relatively okay. You have the whole spectrum, and it all, every bit of it, is dependent upon how well the energy is flowing as it passes through you. So the purpose of life is for it to flow perfectly through you, to be ecstatic, to be joyful, to be filled with love all the time. Don't ever let anyone tell you that that state cannot exist, that you have to know your highs to know your lows. That's not true. You are capable of being in a state of perpetual ecstasy, of permanent peace. Everyone is. Everyone is. And if you realize you're going to die very soon, at least soon enough, no matter what you do, you're going to die soon. So since you're going to die no matter what, why not from this moment until death time, why not be ecstatic? What is the purpose of not being ecstatic? There's nothing you are going to do between now and death time that is going to make any difference once you die. Nothing. Nothing. So why not experience from now till the inevitable joy and ecstasy? What's the purpose of not? How could there be any purpose? None of it has any meaning except for the experience of the joy anyways. If you live between now and death time in ecstatic, overwhelming joy, what, are you going to get in trouble? Do you get a fine or something? It's free. Nothing is stopping you. It's not illegal. It's your choice. It's not your choice whether there be a death time. There will be a death time. It's not your choice whether there's a now. There's a now. Whose choice could it possibly be besides yours as to whether you want to fill the time between now and death time with suffering or with joy? So it's very simple to a yogi. He's going to say, oh gee, door number 1, anguish, suffering, pain, tension, insecurity, fear. Door number 2, perpetual ecstasy, joy, bliss, and love. Which door do you want? Who is stopping you from picking that door? Show me the police. Show me the joy police. Show me where the law says you can only have joy equal to your suffering. You must balance this. There's no such law. No such law. So once you decide that that is the purpose of life, and you decide that there is nothing stopping you, then it gets interesting. Because then it gets frustrating. Because you realize it's your choice, nobody else is telling you can't, and yet it ain't happening. But at least you made the choice. You must make that choice first. And you must remember it day and night. I choose joy over sadness. I choose ecstasy over suffering. I choose freedom over bondage. It is my choice. I choose free flows of energy over blockage. Now the question becomes, why don't you experience that? Why are you not experiencing that every day? How long have you known it was your choice? What are you doing about it? Why don't you feel it? First, have you caught on as to why you don't feel it? Have you watched good enough to see why are you not feeling joy all the time? Yes, okay, why? Because I'm afraid. You're afraid? Afraid of feeling joy? No, I'm afraid. Afraid of what? Just afraid of a lot of things. And so I feel the need to protect myself, to defend myself, to cover myself, to do things that make me feel safer. That's what I do. So I ask, you do that instead of having joy? You protect yourself, defend yourself, and do things to make yourself feel safer instead of being ecstatic? You could be being ecstatic instead of doing that. But I'm scared. I'm scared. I'll be ecstatic after I fix everything so it won't hurt me. You understand that? That's the answer. Eventually you catch on. That's the answer why you don't feel joy all the time. That is the answer why you do not feel ecstasy, is because you are scared. And because there is fear, you try to do something about the fear, the scared. You try to say things, you try to do things, you try to change things, you try to do all kinds of things to make it so that you don't feel scared. That's mistake number 1. That's it, right there. You chose door number 1, which was the ecstasy and the joy. But instead, you're doing the fear. You can't do both. You can't do the fear and still feel ecstasy and joy. If you do the fear, you're going to feel fear. And that's what people do. And you must listen to me, because it's the truth. The reason you do not feel ecstatic, overwhelmingly beautiful nirvana all the time, because it is there all the time. It's just the flow of the same energy flowing freely. There's nothing mystical about it. There's nothing different about it. The reason is because of fear. You're afraid. Your heart, your mind, your body, they're afraid. And when you feel fear, it draws you back into yourself so that the energy can't flow up and expand, and you use the same energy that was meant to make you feel ecstasy, make you feel joy, make you feel well-being. You use that to deal with the fear. It seemed rational at the time. It's very irrational. You have just turned energy that in and of itself could spontaneously make you feel wonderful, and you used it to deal with a part of you that makes you feel terrible. But when I say deal with it, it's not like you solve that part. There is no solving fear. There is no solving fear. That's like, say, solving snake, solving rain, solving cold, solving death, solving sickness. There is no such thing. They are things that exist in the universe. Snake exists in the universe. Death exists in the universe. Sickness exists in the universe. Snow exists in the universe. Cold exists in the universe. Rain exists in the universe. You don't solve them. You experience them. You do not solve fear. It is not something you finally conquer or solve. You will not get rid of it, no more than you will get rid of cold or rain. It is something you experience. What is the difference between when I say it is something you experience versus something you solve, something you get rid of? Understand that. If it is cold and I experience cold, that is the beginning and the end of it. There is nothing more to it. If it is rain and I experience rain, there is no more mind, there is no more feeling, there is no more emotion, there are no samskaras, there is nothing to do about it, is there? It's just an experience. I am experiencing rain. I am experiencing cold. It is complete in and of itself. If you are trying to get rid of cold, now there's a lot to do. You're a busy person. You have to move. You have to carry heaters around with you. You got to go all kinds of clothes. You got to do, oh my God, you can't imagine the things you have to do if instead of trying to experience cold, you're trying to get rid of cold. In truth, the act of trying to get rid of cold doesn't get rid of it at all. It makes it the center of your life. This person is experiencing cold. Okay, what does that mean? It means nothing changed. They just experienced it. The clothes didn't change. There's no special apparatus that they carry around with them. They just experienced cold. They experienced rain. All right? This person can't experience cold. They want to get rid of cold. So when I see this person, they have thermometers with them. And they have weather predicting stations with them. And they're always on the internet looking at the weather station. And they have all kinds of apparatus. Space heaters and those things you break open and hold in your hands, chemical heating element things. Everything about them is about cold. But they were the one that was trying to get rid of cold. I don't understand. They have a whole storage of things at house in case they run out of those things that heat your hand when you break them, and they have to carry generators with them because the heaters don't work well in batteries. Look how busy they are. So the person who is experiencing cold has nothing to do with cold, except the experience. The person who's trying to get rid of cold has made cold the center of their life. That's the difference between experiencing and attempting to do something about it. When you say attempting to do something about it, you're either attempting to cling to it, to keep it. I love you. You're staying. All right? You're trying to do something about it. Or you're trying to push it away, make it go away. Either way, it became the center of your life. So it's very deep to contemplate, am I experiencing something or am I trying to get rid of? And by the way, getting rid of is equivalent to keeping. All right, doesn't make any difference to me. Let's take, I gave you cold, I gave you rain. Now let's give one that's harder, love. Are you experiencing love or are you trying to keep love? Are you trying to do something about love? Big difference. I'm in the presence of somebody, I feel love. That's it. That's the beginning and the end. It is whole within itself. The experience was the purpose was the experience. Did you hear that? The experience was the purpose was the experience. Therefore, that's a gestalt. It's complete. It's whole. That's the end of it. You feel love, you experience love, that's that. Should it not be about experiencing love as a whole in and of itself? That's it. But I want to keep it. In other words, I don't want the next experience to happen. That's the experience I want to have. So now I want to do something about it. Now you know where that's going. If you think keeping yourself warm was a big deal, wait till you see what happens trying to keep love. You become a mess, don't you? You got to worry about what you wear and whether you smell and what did you say and was it right or was it wrong? Oh, you shouldn't have said it. And my God, does he love you or does he not love you? And how do you know it? And how can I trust him? Because I don't know if I'm doing well, or why did he look at me that way? He doesn't open the door anymore. He used to open the door. And oh my God, if she cared about me, she would have been home when I came home. Hello. How do you like trying to keep love? Isn't it fun? No, it's not, is it? So the act of trying to not have cold caused you to suffer. You had to carry things around and build wings on your house for storage supplies and do all kinds of stuff and work late at night to pay for a new kind of heater. You were very busy because you were not willing to experience the experience. The attempt to keep love drove you crazy. You became neurotic. You worried about every single thing that ever happened because you weren't willing to just let love be when it was and when it will depart. Not willing to let the experience be the purpose and the purpose be the experience. It's over then. All right? So there's a big difference between living life as an experience and living life with a purpose. There is no purpose other than the experience. It should be done right when it started. It's over. Each moment is an experience. You are fine with the experience. There are no preferences. If you do other than that, you will find out why there is suffering. There is no suffering. There is just blocking ecstasy. The difference is, are you willing to experience the experience, or are you resistant to the experience? So there is either ecstasy or blocked ecstasy. That's all there is. So you decide, what do I want to feel? What do I want to do between now and death day? Because if what you want to do is experience the highest joy you possibly can, then the experiences you are having in life have to be sufficient unto themselves. They can't have motives. They can't have ulterior motives. They can't have other purposes. It has to be that I met this person, and what goes on in the experience of meeting this person is sufficient unto itself. Then there's the next experience, then the next experience, then the next experience. If what happens is in meeting this person, I have preconceived notions of what I want to go on, and if it's not going on, I'm trying to make it go on, now all of a sudden there's tension. Why would there be preconceived notions? Why is this? Because of fear. Because you don't know how to live in the now with openness and ecstasy. Your mind is trying to tell you what you need to do to be okay. And it's afraid that this won't happen. It's afraid that bad things will happen to you, quote, bad, or that good things won't happen to you. There are no bad things, and there are no good things. How honest you want to have a discussion? Bad things never happen to a yogi, but not for the reason you think. Because there are no bad things. That's why bad things never happen to a yogi. Good things don't happen either. Neither bad nor good things happen to a yogi. Things happen to a yogi. Just things happen, don't they? It's just things keep happening. But the yogi is neither defining them as good or bad. Because you don't define it as good or bad, you don't worry about it. You're not afraid of it. The moment you define it as good and bad, you're afraid that the good won't happen. You're afraid that the bad will. So you eventually study this enough within yourself to realize that you are your own problem. You do not have another problem in this life. This life is ecstasy. This life is ecstasy. Every moment of it is ecstasy. If you are not experiencing nirvana, ecstasy, joy, bliss, freedom, peace, if you are not experiencing those things, it is because you have, as the third Zen patriarch said, set aside what you like from what you dislike. The moment you set aside what you like from what you dislike, you will suffer. If you stop setting aside what you like from what you dislike, how could you fear anything? You wouldn't know how to figure out what was good or bad. You have to stop defining things as what you want and what you don't want. And you have to sit there and say, I want to experience joy all the time. That's what I want. It's my only want. And the only way that can happen is for me to stop trying to make things be different than they are. You just eventually really catch on to this. And you realize that basically your sadhana, your work in life, is to accept life. It sounds so hard, but another way you look at it is it seems ridiculous. How can you not accept life? It's what's happening. It's just what happened. You just accept what happened. What choice do you have? None. You do have a choice. You can block your ecstasy if you want to, because you don't want to accept reality. Are we getting closer now? If you would like to, you can reject reality, and in doing so create a blockage, because it is your rejection that is the blockage. Ecstasy is trying to flow, you're pushing it away. No, I don't want this person to leave me. No, I don't want this to happen. You don't want what to happen? What's happening? Then you're not going to have ecstasy. You won't know joy. The energy that is has to be free to flow. If you are silly enough to block it, then you have to think about your blocking your own ecstasy. So that becomes your entire sadhana. It's your entire work. There's nothing else to learn. Nothing. There is nothing wrong. There is nothing right. There is nothing good. There is nothing bad. There is nothing to do. There is nothing to not do. Life is unfolding by itself. It doesn't need you. And the last thing in the world it needs is your judgment, which does nothing but screw you up. Haven't you noticed life couldn't care less what you think about it? I don't want there to be a snake. It doesn't listen, does it? I don't want it to rain today. It has some nerve. It doesn't care what you think, or what you like, or what you dislike. It's just going about its business. Why should it listen to you? What would it do about everybody else who has their own idea? It would be neurotic if it listened to you. So it just ignores you. He says, I'll just go about my business. Now your choice is, are you going to accept, honor, and respect the business that life goes about? And if you do, then you will not be blocking the energy, and you will start to feel joy and ecstasy all the time, no matter what happens. We talked about fear. Why do you have fear? Why? There's two fears. There's fear, and there's the fear of the fear. Fear is a natural thing. Sometimes humans feel fear. It's one of the notes the heart plays. All right? What should you do when you feel fear? Enjoy the experience of fear. Just let it play that note, and there it goes. It comes and goes. Doesn't make any difference. The fear of the fear is that you don't want to have that note played, and you're afraid the note will be played. That one's trouble. You best let go of that one. Be willing to experience fear. This is like the epitome of seeing how it works. Be willing to experience fear so you don't have to have fear of the fear. If you are not willing to experience fear, meaning I don't want to feel fear, then you have to be afraid of feeling fear. If you are willing to experience fear, then you do not have to be afraid of experiencing fear. Pain is the same way. What is pain? Nothing. It's the witness experiencing something the body feels. If you are willing to experience what the body feels, it's just another thing the body can feel. If you care, if you don't ever want to feel pain, you're going to be afraid of feeling pain. And you'll have to do all kinds of things in your life because you're afraid of feeling pain. If pain is just another thing you feel, then you don't have to be afraid of feeling pain. It's not going to make you feel it more. You're going to feel it when you feel it. It's just going to eliminate the in-between time when you were afraid of feeling it. It lets life be much, much more open, much more experiential. You shouldn't even have a preference of pleasure over pain. You shouldn't have a preference of fear versus fearless. They are just experiences that the self gets to feel. If the self is willing to feel and experience anything, there will be no fear. There will just be this awesome openness to what happens next. That is the highest state. There is no higher state. That openness, where there is just complete innocent openness, and only the now is now, and you're experiencing that now, then it is gone. And whatever it was is fine. You know how now you wait? You wait for it to happen. You wait for it to get better. You wait for your ship to come in. That waiting has to stop. What in the world are you waiting for? You must have a preconceived notion of how you want it to be. You must get rid of the preconceived notion and be willing to experience what is. The purpose of life is the experience of life. So experience it. The answer is no. Why? I don't want to. I want to experience that and not that. You're dead. You're dead. You walked off the path the minute you said that. How can I free myself? By experiencing the experience you're experiencing and not permitting your mind to wander off into what you'd rather be doing. No more bumper stickers. There is no rather be doing. Under all circumstances, I'd rather be doing what I'm doing. I'd rather be doing what I'm doing. Each and every experience is worth having. When you stop separating the ones you want from the ones you don't want, your mind will stop and the disturbance will stop. You created the fear. Not the human fear. That's fine. Just the feeling of somebody boos you, go, oh, feel some fear. It's just fine. It's just like feeling anything else or hearing anything else. It's just a vibration in the universe. That's not what I mean by fear. The fear that disturbs you is the fear that you don't want something to happen. It's the psychological fear, the long-term fear, thinking, I don't want that to happen, so I'm afraid of it. Now, when you come in the room, you remind me that it might happen because of how you looked at me or what you did or what you didn't do. So now the fear is constant. Because I don't want it to happen and I'm afraid it'll happen, I'm watching out for it. You should never be watching out for anything. You should be experiencing what is. There shouldn't be this sense of looking, examining. That's why some people, I told you how I feel about body language. Some people study body language and they want to learn all about body language. To the yogi sits there and says, well, I understand, but why would you want to? You're standing there in the presence of a person, you're having whatever the experience is. Why are you trying to read something out of it? Why are you trying to figure out what they really mean? Who cares? Maybe they're telling you total lies. So what? What difference does it make? If you're afraid that something's going to happen or not happen, then you better figure out whether they're telling the truth or not, so you know whether to trust them. So you know whether they're trustworthy. You follow me? Trustworthy means I can rely on you to help me get what I want. You're somebody I can trust. If you don't have wants, it doesn't matter how they sit or what they do or what they say. It's just interesting to interact with them. They're toys. Do you understand that? When you were young, you played with Barbie dolls. There are these dolls, I keep trying to tell you. Now they try to make dolls like so unbelievably intelligent, so that if you say something to them, they say something back in context to what you said. They do things that are unpredictable, and so on. Why would you want it to be like that? Because of the fun experience of whatever happens. Because you're playing with a doll, what difference does it make? You're not afraid of what the doll's going to do. You have joy because you don't know what the doll's going to do. People are toys. People are like dolls, unbelievable. They're God's idea of a doll. All right? And when you go into a store, you go here, you go there, any place you are, anything, you get to play. And you don't know what they'll say. And you don't know what they'll do. Okay? They're just like playing with Barbie or anybody else. And so you go up and you play. You say things or you do things and you see what comes back. Why? For the joy of the experience of the moment. Well, I can't do that. Why? I don't know them. So what? What has that got to do with it? What do you mean when you say, but I don't know them? Come on, say it right. I'm afraid. I'm afraid of them. I'm afraid. How do I know? I might say something and offend them. So what? No, then something bad might happen. In other words, I'm afraid. I'm afraid, I'm afraid, I'm afraid, I'm afraid. And because I'm afraid, I can't do anything. And because I'm afraid, I'm blocked. And because I'm afraid, I don't get to know joy. You must give up on that. You can't buy into that. You have to sit there and say to yourself, I am alive now, I will be dead tomorrow. I want to feel joy in between. I am alive today, I will be dead tomorrow. I want to feel joy in between. And the way to feel joy is to honor every experience and be completely open and receptive. And don't set aside what you like from what you dislike, ever. That is the teaching of the deepest yoga. It's not what people think it is. It's very, very simple. It's very, very deep. Honor the experience you are having. It is your life, under all conditions. Do not have preferences. If you feel fear, honor the experience of fear. Do not be afraid of the fear. If you feel pain, play with the pain. See what it's like to feel pain. See where it comes from. Who feels the pain? Where is the pain? But mostly, who feels this pain? Who is experiencing this pain? How do I know there's pain? Where is the one who knows there's pain? And just play with it. Don't be afraid of it. Look forward to anything that will happen to you. Look forward to the entire experience of whatever can take place for you to experience. And you will have no fear. That is the only way to undercut fear, is to look forward to everything. Then what is there to be afraid of? And if you do that, because fear is what's stopping you from letting the energy flow, the very act of being so totally receptive to life will permit you not to have fear or get caught up in the fear, which will permit your energy to expand, and the next thing you know, you will be feeling joy for no reason. But there is a reason. The reason I just told you. Because your natural state is joy. And what you call pain and suffering is blocked ecstasy. You are the one who has chosen to block the flow of the energy because you think you know what's good for you. You don't know what's good for you. You don't have any idea what's good for you. And so you eventually reach a very deep state where that's your entire sadhana. That is your whole life. Every single minute. Can I honor what's happening? Can I worship, honor, respect, be open to whatever experience is taking place so that my energy can flow freely? Or you want just one more time to try and make sure the person understood what you meant because maybe they won't like you because they knows what they... Who cares? What you have to care about is the flow of ecstasy. Can you get over what people think of you? Can you? Because if you can't, you got work to do. Why do you care what people think of you? Because you're afraid. You're afraid that if they don't think nice things, something terrible is going to happen. It's fear that causes this. If you love that they don't like you, nothing terrible will happen, something wonderful will happen. You'll feel joy. There's that person that hates me. Oh, that's beautiful. Now what's there to be afraid of? What if you felt ecstasy every time someone didn't like you? Then it's wonderful they don't like you. It's a wonderful experience. You have to be that way with everything. So, that's your work. It's that simple. You want to be free. You want to understand the truth, the Tao, the Dharma. Life is about ecstasy. God created the heavens and earth to revel in God. There's no other purpose. There's no other reason. It is all the ecstasy, the joy of the experience of the expression of the self. And that's what you're experiencing. So if you are feeling other than that, don't try to solve it. Don't try to solve these things. Just enjoy the experience of these things. There are people, for instance, jealousy. People have trouble with jealousy. All right? If you try to get rid of jealousy, you never will. Never. Never will. Always be there. You can tolerate it. You can not give in to it. But you will never get rid of it. You will never know what it's like to live a life and have no experience of jealousy. Why? Because you don't like jealousy. Therefore, you want to do something about it. And I told you what happens if you try to do something about something. You end up owning it. It is only when you are willing to experience the experience with indifference. All right? Oh, this is what jealousy feels like. Wow, Shakespeare wrote about that stuff a lot. A lot of interesting things happen because of that. Good. I get to feel it firsthand. I don't have to read it in a book. I know exactly what it's like now. Good. Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that wonderful? Fully embraced. Fully experiential. But what if it comes back? Goody! It was fun. What if it never comes back? So what? There'll be something. Now you're not afraid. Now you're willing to experience without ownership, without doership. You just experience. When you are that way about everything, you're a liberated being. You're a free being. When every single thing you experience is the same as anything else you experience, when every single experience is worthy of having and brings about a joy for the honor of having that experience, there will be no fear. What is there to be afraid of? Whatever will happen next will happen next. Who cares? And you just get more and more into that state. And you do it by letting go of the part of you that is trying to do things about things. There is no doership. There's just experience. And when you become 100% experiential, you won't be here. Not as you know yourself now. There will just be consciousness experiencing energy. There will no longer be this sense of separate being who has preferences or judgments or fears or anxiety. There will just be the one experiencing the one. So that's your path. It sounds paradoxical, but it's not. It's actually very, very simple. If you want to experience ecstasy, honor life. Chakratas.